The boardroom fell silent as Zora Washington stood confidently before hundreds of shocked airline executives. Just hours after being humiliatingly denied her rightful first-class seat, she revealed the impossible. She now controlled 51% of Eclipse Airlines stock. "Until this company addresses its cancer of discrimination," she announced calmly, "I'm grounding the entire fleet." Hours earlier, head flight attendant Maxwell Pierce had sneered, "These seats aren't for everyone," never imagining the passenger he demeaned would soon become his boss. How did a simple denied seat transform into the most stunning corporate takeover in aviation history? Before we begin this incredible story, tell us where you're watching from, and if you believe in standing up against discrimination, hit that like and subscribe button to join our journey for justice. Zora Washington hadn't always commanded boardrooms and corporate assets worth billions. Growing up in Southside Chicago with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, she'd learned early that the world wasn't designed for people who looked like her to succeed. But Zora refused to accept those limitations. Her brilliant analytical mind and unwavering determination propelled her from public school to Harvard Business School on full scholarship, then through the ranks of tech giants until founding her own company, Horizon Technologies, at just 32 years old. By 40, Zora had transformed Horizon from a startup into a billion-dollar enterprise specializing in artificial intelligence solutions. Her company employed over 3,000 people, had offices in 12 countries, and was on the verge of revolutionary expansion. Today's meeting in Seattle with Tanaka Enterprises, representing a consortium of Japanese investors, could secure a $20 billion partnership to develop AI transportation systems that would transform urban mobility worldwide. For weeks, Zora had meticulously prepared for this presentation. Her team had created stunning visualizations, market projections, and prototype demonstrations. She'd rehearsed her pitch until every word flowed perfectly, embodying the confidence investors expected from someone handling billions of their dollars. Nothing had been left to chance. 18 days earlier, she'd personally purchased her first-class ticket on Eclipse Airlines. The 6-hour flight from Chicago to Seattle would give her time to review materials, meditate, and arrive refreshed for the meeting. The premium ticket included priority boarding, superior meal service, and most importantly, space to work undisturbed. Arriving at O'Hare International 3 hours early, Zora wore her signature power outfit, a custom-tailored navy suit with subtle gold threading, elegant yet understated jewelry, and her grandmother's watch, a reminder of where she came from and who she represented. The microaggressions started almost immediately. At the premium check-in counter, the agent squinted at her ID suspiciously. "Is this really your ticket, ma'am?" he asked, despite her executive platinum status clearly displayed on his screen. "Yes, it is. I'd like to confirm my upgraded seat, please," Zora replied evenly, having long ago mastered the art of swallowing daily indignities. Security brought more subtle indications that some viewed her presence in first class as an anomaly. While white executives sailed through the priority line, Zora was pulled aside for random additional screening. "Arms out, ma'am," the TSA agent instructed, running the wand over her body for the second time while casting suspicious glances at her Hermes briefcase. "Is there a problem?" Zora asked calmly. "Just procedure," came the terse reply as they emptied and inspected every item in her meticulously packed bag, disrupting her careful organization while white travelers passed through with cursory checks. 20 minutes later, Zora arrived at the gate just as boarding was announced for first-class passengers. Taking her place in line, she couldn't help noticing she was the only black person among the premium passengers. The white businessman ahead of her received a warm "Welcome aboard, Mr. Brooks," as he scanned his boarding pass. When Zora stepped forward, flight attendant Maxwell Pierce's smile instantly faltered. "Boarding pass, please," he said flatly, extending his hand without making eye contact. Zora presented her digital pass. Pierce examined it with exaggerated scrutiny, his eyes darting between the screen and her face with unmistakable suspicion. "There must be some mistake," he announced loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear. "These premium seats are for our preferred customers. You're in coach, Section D." Heat flushed Zora's cheeks. "There's no mistake. I purchased this first-class ticket weeks ago." Pierce's smile tightened. I'm sure you think so, but our system shows differently. Please step aside while I help the first-class passengers. Zora stood her ground. I am a first-class passenger. Check again. The businessman who'd entered before her, Gerald Brooks, sighed dramatically. Some people never understand how these things work. It's their policy, lady. Just go to your proper seat and stop holding up the line. Several white passengers nodded in agreement. Zora felt the familiar tightness in her chest. The same sensation she'd experienced countless times when confronted with casual racism that others pretended not to see. But this time was different. This time, her entire professional future hung in the balance. I need to speak with a manager immediately, Zora stated firmly, refusing to move aside as other passengers began to grumble. Maxwell Pierce's nostrils flared slightly. Ma'am, you're disrupting the boarding process. We have a full flight and a schedule to maintain. And I have a first-class ticket that I paid for. I'm not moving until this is addressed properly. 5 excruciating minutes passed before customer service manager Diana Wells arrived, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, her smile professionally vacant. What seems to be the problem here? Before Zora could speak, Pierce jumped in. This passenger insists she has a first-class ticket, but our system shows coach. She's refusing to board appropriately. Zora held up her phone displaying the confirmation. Mail. I purchased this first-class ticket 18 days ago. I have the receipt showing payment and confirmation. Wells took the phone, scrolling with exaggerated deliberation. I see the confusion. You purchased an economy ticket eligible for upgrade. However, upgrades are based on availability and elite status. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Our highest-tier members receive priority. That's simply not true, Zora countered, maintaining her composure despite rising tension. I purchased a first-class ticket outright, not an upgrade request. As Wells and Pierce exchanged glances, Zora discreetly activated her phone's recording feature, a habit she'd developed after too many instances of having her reality denied. Listen, honey, Pierce whispered to another attendant, not realizing Zora could hear. These people always think they deserve special treatment, like she belongs up front with actual executives. The recording captured every syllable. Wells returned Zora's phone with an insincere smile. I apologize for any confusion, but I must ask you to board with your assigned seat. If you continue to disrupt boarding, we'll have to contact security. The threat hung in the air. Zora looked around, noting curious stares from other passengers, most avoiding direct eye contact. No allies here. With her critical meeting hours away, being detained by airport security wasn't an option. I'll be filing a formal complaint, she said, accepting her altered boarding pass with barely contained fury. You do that, ma'am. Pierce smirked as she walked past. Boarding the main cabin felt like a walk of shame. Directed to row 34, Zora found herself assigned to a middle seat between 2 passengers who barely acknowledged her presence. A heavyset man already spilling into her space, and a teenager with headphones blasting music loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Settling in, Zora discovered her seat's entertainment system was non-functional. The tray table wobbled dangerously, and the seat itself wouldn't recline. When she signaled a flight attendant to report these issues, she was greeted with indifference. We're full today. Nothing we can do about seating, the attendant replied without making eye contact, before moving on to attentively assist a white passenger with a similar request. Attempting to make the best of the situation, Zora removed her presentation materials from her briefcase, only to find limited space to review them properly. Each time she adjusted herself to create working room, the man beside her grunted irritably. An hour into the flight, drink service began. The attendant served white passengers directly, asking about their preferences. When they reached Zora's row, a plastic cup was unceremoniously placed on her tray without a word, sloshing water onto her notes. Excuse me? Zora called as the attendant moved away. Could I get some napkins, please? The attendant continued down the aisle as if she hadn't spoken. Midway through the flight, Zora spotted Gerald Brooks from first class strolling down the aisle toward the lavatory. He paused at her row, eyeing her cramped working conditions with obvious amusement. Enjoying the accommodations? he asked with false concern. I just finished a delicious lunch. Shame they ran out by the time they reached economy. He deliberately placed his empty dessert container on her tray. You can have this if you're hungry. Several nearby passengers chuckled as he walked away. 2 hours into the flight, while stretching her legs, Zora overheard a conversation near the galley. 3 white passengers were being escorted to first class. We've had some seats open up, the attendant explained cheerfully. As valued customers, we'd like to offer you complimentary upgrades. The same attendants who had claimed first class was completely booked now had multiple seats available, just not for her. The pattern was unmistakable, the message clear. No matter her achievements or what she paid, some spaces weren't meant for people like her. The wheels of the Boeing 787 screeched against Seattle-Tacoma International Airport's runway at exactly 2:17 p.m. Pacific Time, leaving Zora Washington precisely 93 minutes to reach downtown Seattle for her career-defining meeting with Tanaka Enterprises. Under normal circumstances, this would have been adequate time. But today had been anything but normal. As passengers disembarked, Zora noticed Maxwell Pierce and Diana Wells smirking as she passed by, whispering something that made them both laugh. She held her head high, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. The final indignity awaited at baggage claim. After 20 minutes, when most passengers had retrieved their luggage and departed, Zora's custom Tumi suitcase finally appeared, visibly damaged, with what appeared to be deliberate slash marks across its surface. When she opened it to check the contents, her meticulously organized presentation materials were in disarray, several pages mysteriously stained with coffee. Excuse me, she approached the baggage service counter. My luggage has been damaged and the contents tampered with. The baggage handler barely glanced at her suitcase. Luggage gets banged up during travel. You should have used a hard case if you had valuables. This isn't normal wear and tear, Zora insisted, pointing to the slash marks. These are deliberate cuts, and my documents inside have been deliberately disorganized and stained. The agent shrugged. File a claim online. Next customer, please. Zora stepped aside, breathing deeply to maintain her composure, while quickly documenting everything with her phone camera. The clock was ticking. With no time to argue further, she rushed outside to catch a rideshare to downtown. In the back seat of the Uber, Zora placed a brief call to her personal attorney, Jackson Bennett. Jackson, I need your advice. I've just experienced blatant discrimination on Eclipse Airlines. She quickly summarized the events. Document everything, Bennett advised. Recordings, emails, witness information if possible. Don't post anything on social media yet. We'll need to build a proper case. Arriving at the Tanaka Enterprises offices with just 7 minutes to spare, Zora did her best to smooth her wrinkled suit and reorganize her presentation materials. This wasn't how she had envisioned making one of the most important pitches of her career. Mr. Tanaka and 4 other Japanese executives were already seated in the conference room when Zora entered. Their expressions remained neutral, but she could read the subtle shift in body language as they noted her disheveled appearance, so different from her usual impeccable presentation. Ms. Washington, Mr. Tanaka began formally. We expected you earlier for preliminary discussions. Taking a calculated risk, Zora decided on radical honesty. Mr. Tanaka, gentlemen, I must apologize for my appearance and slightly delayed arrival. I had planned to arrive in perfect order, but I've just experienced something unexpected. She briefly recounted the discrimination she'd faced, explaining how it had affected her journey. A moment of silence followed. Then, surprisingly, Mr. Tanaka's formal demeanor softened. Ms. Washington, when I first came to America 30 years ago to represent my family's business, I was denied service at a restaurant despite having a reservation. The host claimed my table had been given away, yet seated white businessmen who arrived after me. I understand such indignities. The atmosphere in the room transformed. What could have been a disaster became a moment of unexpected connection. Now, Mr. Tanaka continued, I believe you have an AI transportation system to show us? Despite the compromised materials, Zora delivered a flawless presentation, her her passion and expertise shining through the adversity. By meeting's end, the Japanese consortium was not just interested. They were enthusiastic about partnering with Horizon Technologies. Have you ever faced discrimination that actually led to an unexpected positive connection? Comment number 1. If you've experienced a situation where sharing your struggles created a bridge with someone else. If you believe businesses should be held accountable for discriminatory practices, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories of justice and perseverance. But wait, what if Zora's airport nightmare wasn't just random discrimination? What if something more sinister was at play? The truth would prove far more shocking than she could imagine. Back in her hotel room that evening, despite her successful meeting with Tanaka Enterprises, Zora couldn't shake the humiliation and anger from her Eclipse Airlines experience. While most people might file a complaint and move on, Zora's analytical mind sensed something deeper than isolated bigotry. The coordinated nature of the mistreatment, from check-in to baggage claim, suggested a pattern worth investigating. Opening her laptop, she began with a simple search: Gerald Brooks Eclipse Airlines. The results sent a chill down her spine. Gerald Brooks wasn't just any first-class passenger. He was Eclipse Airlines Vice President of Customer Experience. His LinkedIn profile boasted about ensuring premium experiences for valued customers and maintaining the exclusivity of Eclipse's first-class service. This wasn't random, Zora whispered to herself. He deliberately singled me out. Digging deeper, she uncovered numerous discrimination complaints against Eclipse Airlines buried in Department of Transportation records, complaints that mysteriously disappeared from public view after confidential settlements. The pattern was unmistakable. Black and brown passengers consistently reported being denied upgrades, having reservations lost, or being subjected to excessive security checks. Around midnight, Zora discovered something even more disturbing: an anonymous aviation industry forum where airline employees shared tips and tricks for discouraging certain passengers from accessing premium services without explicitly violating discrimination laws. One user, SkyKing737, regularly contributed detailed strategies and had referenced Eclipse's successful management of cabin demographics multiple times. Comparing writing styles with public statements, Zora became convinced SkyKing737 was likely Gerald Brooks himself. The timestamps of his posts often aligned with Eclipse's internal policy changes around premium passenger experience management. A message from an industry contact interrupted her investigation. "Saw you had trouble with Eclipse today. Not surprised. Word is they're in serious financial trouble, seeking capital infusion desperately. CEO Martin Reynolds meeting with potential investors all week in NYC." This information cast Brooks's behavior in an even more sinister light. Was Eclipse cultivating a specific customer profile to attract investors? Were they deliberately creating an artificially exclusive environment by keeping certain passengers out of premium cabins? Zora called her friend Maya Rodriguez, a financial analyst specializing in transportation. "Maya, what can you tell me about Eclipse Airlines' financial situation, off the record?" "They're circling the drain," Maya replied without hesitation. "Fuel hedging mistakes, 3 consecutive quarters of losses, and a heavy debt load from their fleet modernization program. They're desperately seeking a white knight investor before their credit rating gets downgraded next month. Any regulatory issues I should know about?" "Funny you should ask," Maya's voice lowered. "My sources say they've been playing fast and loose with maintenance schedules to cut costs, and there's rumored discrimination in their hiring practices too. The FAA's been sniffing around, but nothing official yet." Zora thanked Maya and returned to her laptop with renewed purpose. Eclipse's desperate situation explained their tolerance of discriminatory practices if they believed it helped maintain a certain image for their premium service. It wasn't just personal bigotry, it was weaponized discrimination as business strategy. By dawn, she had compiled a comprehensive dossier: discrimination complaints, suspicious forum posts, financial vulnerabilities, and regulatory concerns. Eclipse Airlines wasn't just allowing racism, they were institutionalizing it while teetering on financial collapse. Staring out her hotel window at the Seattle skyline, Zora felt the first stirrings of an idea. What had begun as personal humiliation was revealing itself as systematic injustice and perhaps an unexpected opportunity. If Eclipse was this desperate for capital, they were vulnerable. And if they were vulnerable, they picked the wrong woman to discriminate against, Zora whispered, watching the sunrise illuminate Mount Rainier in the distance. The mountain stood immovable, ancient, a testament to forces powerful enough to reshape landscapes. Today, Zora felt like exactly that kind of force. Her phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Prepare for second meeting with Tanaka Enterprises. The Japanese investors had requested another session after her impressive presentation yesterday. Little did they know that Zora Washington was formulating a plan that would go far beyond AI transportation systems, a plan that would change the entire American aviation industry. After her second successful meeting with Tanaka Enterprises, Zora wasted no time implementing the first phase of her strategy. From her hotel room, she filed a detailed discrimination complaint with the Department of Transportation, complete with her audio recording of Maxwell Pierce's racist comments and photographs of her damaged luggage. She then reached out to select media contacts, not mainstream outlets that might brush off another discrimination story, but respected journalists known for integrity and thorough investigation. "I'm not looking for 15 minutes of outrage," she explained to Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Rebecca Chen. "I'm looking for accountability and systemic change." Chen agreed to investigate, recognizing the broader implications beyond one executive's experience. "This appears to be part of a pattern," she noted after reviewing Zora's evidence. "I'll need a few days to verify additional complaints and financial information." What Zora hadn't anticipated was Eclipse Airlines' aggressive, preemptive response. By that afternoon, their PR team had launched a coordinated campaign across social media platforms, releasing selectively edited security footage, showing only Zora's most frustrated moments during the boarding confrontation. "Eclipse Airlines responds to entitlement incident," read the headline on their official press release. The carefully crafted statement described Zora as confrontational, demanding special treatment, and disrupting the boarding process for other valued customers. Within hours, the narrative split along predictable lines. Some social media users rallied behind Zora, particularly those who had experienced similar discrimination. Others accepted Eclipse's framing, calling her another angry black woman causing trouble and playing the race card to get special treatment. By dinner time, Zora received the first anonymous threat via her company email. "Stay in your lane or you'll regret it. First class isn't for everyone." The message had been routed through multiple servers to hide its origin, but the implication was clear. Someone at Eclipse had access to her personal information. That night, her hotel room phone rang at 3:17 a.m. "Ms. Washington?" The night manager sounded apologetic. "We have an urgent situation requiring your immediate attention in the lobby." Suspicious, Zora called the front desk directly from her cell phone instead. "This is Zora Washington. Did someone from your staff just call my room?" "No, ma'am. Our records show no calls to your room tonight. Please flag my room for security. I believe someone is attempting to lure me out." 20 minutes later, security confirmed that the call had come from outside the hotel, but had been manipulated to appear as an internal line. While Zora dealt with these intimidation tactics, a more serious attack was underway. Her executive assistant Amara called from Chicago with alarming news. "Zora, we've had a security breach. Someone accessed our servers last night. The tech team is still assessing damage, but it appears they were specifically targeting your files and emails." "Any idea who's behind it?" "Nothing definitive, but the attack originated from an IP address block registered to Pinnacle Aviation Services." "Let me guess, a subsidiary or contractor for Eclipse Airlines?" "Bingo. They handle IT services for several airlines, Eclipse being their largest client. The attacks weren't limited to digital space. By morning, Zora received concerned messages from 3 Horizon Technologies board members, all variations on the same theme. Is this Eclipse situation worth the potential blowback to our company? Board member Lawrence Phillips was the most direct. Zora, I respect your personal concerns, But Horizon is on the verge of our biggest deal ever. This distraction could damage investor confidence. Perhaps a quiet settlement would be best for everyone. The pressure intensified when she returned to her hotel that evening to find her reservation had been accidentally canceled. "We're fully booked due to a technology conference," the manager explained with suspiciously little concern. "Nothing available anywhere downtown." After an hour of calls, Zora secured a room at a less convenient hotel across town, forcing her to repack and move at 11 p.m. The message was clear. Eclipse had connections throughout Seattle's business community and wasn't afraid to use them. That same evening, Maxwell Pierce appeared on a local Seattle news program, portraying himself as the victim. "In my 20 years of airline service, I've never felt threatened by a passenger the way I did that day," he claimed with practiced sincerity. "Her aggressive behavior frightened me and other passengers. This isn't about race. It's about conduct." The interviewer failed to ask why the aggressive passenger had somehow been allowed to board if she truly posed a threat, or why Pierce had been caught on recording making explicitly racist comments. Zora watched the interview from her new hotel room, noting how Eclipse was escalating from denial to character assassination. They were playing by an old corporate crisis playbook: deny, deflect, discredit the accuser. But Zora Washington hadn't built a billion-dollar company by following traditional rules. Eclipse Airlines was about to learn they'd picked the wrong opponent. The next morning, Zora met civil rights attorney Elijah Morris at a small coffee shop far from downtown Seattle's business district. Morris had won landmark discrimination cases against major corporations and brought a unique perspective as both a Harvard law graduate and the son of a janitor who had fought workplace discrimination in the 1970s. "They're playing the usual corporate defense game," Morris observed after reviewing the evidence. "But they've made 3 critical mistakes. First, they attacked you personally, creating defamation liability. Second, they accessed your company's servers, violating federal computer fraud statutes. Third, they've created a paper trail of their discrimination by responding so aggressively." Zora nodded. "What they don't realize is that I've been collecting evidence from other Eclipse discrimination victims." Following her social media statement about the incident, Zora had received over 40 messages from former Eclipse passengers describing similar experiences. One flight attendant had anonymously shared internal documents showing Eclipse's passenger demographic management policies, corporate doublespeak for discrimination. "We need to create a coalition," Morris advised. "Individual discrimination claims can be dismissed as misunderstandings, but 20 or 30 similar experiences establish a pattern. I'll start preparing a class action framework while you gather more evidence." Their conversation was interrupted when Zora received an encrypted message from an anonymous source. "Check your secure email. You need to see this." The attachment contained a recorded video of an emergency Eclipse executive meeting discussing the Zora Washington situation. CEO Martin Reynolds could be clearly heard saying, "This needs to go away immediately. Use whatever leverage necessary. If she won't back down, find something to discredit her. Everyone has skeletons." Gerald Brooks had responded, "I've got contacts at several financial publications. We can plant stories questioning Horizon's stability. Hit her where it hurts." The recording was explosive evidence of conspiracy to defame, and it had fallen right into Zora's hands. "This changes everything," Morris whispered. "Who sent this?" "Someone inside Eclipse with a conscience," Zora replied. "And they just gave us exactly what we need." While building her legal case, Zora implemented the financial strategy she'd been developing since that first night. Using her extensive network of contacts in the investment world, she began quietly purchasing Eclipse Airlines stock through various shell companies and investment vehicles. With Eclipse's share price already depressed due to their financial troubles, she could acquire significant holdings without attracting attention. Her return flight to Chicago 2 days later brought an unexpected opportunity. Mysteriously, she received an email notification of a complimentary upgrade to first class. Clearly, Eclipse's attempt to make amends now that media attention was growing. "Perfect," Zora murmured, accepting the upgrade. This would put her in direct contact with the same crew that had discriminated against her. As she boarded, Maxwell Pierce's face registered shock, quickly masked by an exaggerated display of courtesy. "Ms. Washington, welcome aboard. We're delighted to have you in. First class today." Diana Wells appeared moments later. "Ms. Washington, on behalf of Eclipse Airlines, please accept our sincere apologies for any misunderstanding during your previous flight. We value you as a premium customer." Zora's phone, discreetly recording in her pocket, captured every insincere word, evidence of their acknowledgement that the previous treatment had been improper. Throughout the flight, Zora observed how differently she was treated with her newfound acceptability in first class. The excessive attention felt almost as demeaning as the previous neglect. Both were based not on her humanity, but on perception of her status. When she used the first-class lavatory midway through the flight, Zora noticed a flight attendant hurriedly enter the bathroom after her departure. Circling back on the pretext of retrieving a forgotten item, she caught the attendant planting a small packet in her seat pocket, a packet that appeared to contain white powder. "Looking for something?" Zora asked calmly, causing the attendant to jump in surprise. "Just routine cabin check," the young woman stammered, quickly removing the packet and retreating to the galley. The attempt was amateurish but dangerous, clearly meant to trigger a security incident upon landing. Had Zora not caught it in action, she might have faced serious legal troubles based on planted evidence. Using her phone, she immediately emailed her attorney. "Attempted plant of suspicious substance in my seat pocket, documented with time-stamped photos. Alert Chicago authorities to possible false report upon landing." When the plane landed at O'Hare, Zora wasn't surprised to see two air marshals waiting at the gate. What did surprise her was their approach, not toward her, but toward Maxwell Pierce, who was taken aside for questioning. Her attorney had moved faster than Eclipse anticipated, providing authorities with evidence of the attempted setup before it could unfold. The airline's desperate tactics were backfiring spectacularly, creating an even stronger legal case while revealing the depths of their discrimination culture. As she left the airport, Zora received confirmation that her stock purchases now totaled 17% of Eclipse Airlines, still below the reporting threshold that would alert management, but well on her way to her target. The airline had no idea that their attempts to intimidate her were only strengthening her resolve and inadvertently helping her ultimate plan. "They think this is about an apology or settlement," she told Morris by phone. "They have no idea what's coming." Zora arrived at Horizon Technologies headquarters early Monday morning to find an urgent board meeting had been called without her knowledge. Walking into the boardroom, she immediately sensed the tension. Several board members avoided eye contact, while others displayed the artificial concern that often preceded corporate betrayal. Board Chairman William Delaney cleared his throat. "Zora, we've called this emergency session to discuss recent events concerning Eclipse Airlines and their potential impact on Horizon." "I wasn't aware this warranted an emergency meeting," Zora replied calmly, taking her seat at the head of the table. Trevor Phillips, their newest board member who had joined 6 months ago representing a group of private equity investors, slid a tablet across the table. On screen was a financial blog post titled, "Horizon Technologies CEO Distracted by Personal Vendetta as Company Faces Liquidity Concerns." "This article appeared this morning," Phillips stated. "It cites sources familiar with the company's operations claiming you've been neglecting critical business functions to pursue a discrimination claim. It also questions our financial stability." Zora scanned the piece, immediately recognizing Gerald Brooks's handiwork. The anonymous sources had detailed knowledge only someone at Eclipse would possess. "This is a planted story," she explained. "Eclipse Airlines executives were recorded planning exactly this type of defamation as retaliation." "Perhaps," Phillips conceded. "But perception matters in business. The Japanese consortium has reached out expressing concerns about company stability. MarketWatch is asking for comment. 3 major clients have called this morning questioning our focus." Other board members shifted uncomfortably as Phillips continued. "While we all sympathize with your personal experience, the board must prioritize Horizon's stability. We're proposing a temporary leadership transition while you address your personal matters." The true agenda became clear. certain board members were using this situation to orchestrate a power play. May I remind everyone, Zora countered, that under my leadership, Horizon has grown from startup to billion-dollar enterprise. Our partnership with Tanaka Enterprises is proceeding precisely as planned. These planted stories are transparent attempts at corporate sabotage. The debate continued for 2 hours. Though several board members supported Zora, Phillips had marshaled enough votes to force a decision. Zora would temporarily step aside as CEO, while an independent investigation assessed the impact of the eclipse situation on company operations. CFO Michael Reynolds would serve as interim CEO. As the meeting concluded, Phillips offered what appeared to be an olive branch. Zora, we all respect your accomplishments. This is simply about protecting the company during a sensitive period. Once this eclipse matter concludes, I'm confident you'll return to your role. His words rang hollow, but Zora maintained her composure. I understand the board's concerns. I remain committed to Horizon's success and will cooperate fully with the transition. Later that afternoon, returning to her office to collect personal items, Zora discovered it had been burglarized during the board meeting. Her personal safe was open, files disturbed, and most alarmingly, the external drive containing backup evidence of Eclipse's discrimination was missing. Security footage mysteriously showed a technical glitch during the exact time frame of the break-in. The message was clear: someone with inside access at Horizon was working with Eclipse. In the parking garage, Zora's executive assistant Amara approached cautiously. I heard what happened. This doesn't feel right. It's not, Zora confirmed. Trevor Phillips isn't who he claims to be. I need you to secure any remaining evidence and communicate only through the encrypted channel we established. Already done, Amara replied, slipping Zora a handwritten note. Phillips's private equity firm received major funding 6 months ago from Pinnacle Aviation Holdings, Eclipse's parent company. He's their plant on our board. The pieces fell into place. Eclipse hadn't just retaliated against Zora personally. They'd orchestrated a corporate takeover attempt of her company while simultaneously trying to discredit her. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you thought was on your side? Comment number 1. If you've ever discovered someone close to you was actually working against your interests, how did you handle it? If you believe in standing up against corruption even when it seems like all the cards are stacked against you, hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories of courage against overwhelming odds. But here's the big question. With Zora now pushed out of her own company and Eclipse seemingly winning on all fronts, how could she possibly turn the tables? Was this the beginning of her downfall? Or was she several moves ahead in a game her opponents didn't even realize they were playing? 24 hours after being forced to step aside as CEO, Zora Washington established her war room in a private office suite registered to one of her personal investment LLCs. Located 30 floors above Chicago's Magnificent Mile, the space offered security, privacy, and most importantly, no connection to either Horizon Technologies or her home address. Welcome to headquarters, she greeted the small team of trusted allies she had assembled. The group included Amara, her loyal executive assistant, Jackson Bennett, her personal attorney, financial analyst Maya Rodriguez, IT security expert Damon Clark, and investigative journalist Rebecca Chen, who had uncovered enough evidence of Eclipse's discriminatory practices to publish a preliminary story. First, we need to understand exactly what we're facing, Zora began, activating a secure digital whiteboard. Eclipse Airlines orchestrated my removal from Horizon through their plant on my board. They've accessed our servers, planted defamatory stories, and attempted to frame me for drug possession. They're playing extremely dirty. And they've been playing dirty for years, Chen added, opening her research file. I've interviewed 27 former Eclipse employees who confirmed systematic discrimination. Flight attendants were instructed to discourage certain passengers from first class through various tactics. Gate agents were trained to question premium tickets purchased by minorities. Even maintenance and cleaning schedules were different for planes serving predominantly white routes versus diverse ones. As Chen detailed her findings, Zora's encrypted phone buzzed with an anonymous message. Check secure drop. Evidence you so need. Be careful. They're desperate. Hours later, the team reviewed the bombshell delivered by their mystery ally. Internal Eclipse Airlines memos explicitly outlining passenger demographic management strategies to maintain premium cabin exclusivity. One memo from Gerald Brooks specifically stated, "Our highest value customers expect a certain environment in first class. Ensuring demographic alignment with their expectations is crucial to maintaining premium revenue." Other documents revealed, Eclipse's deteriorating financial condition was far worse than publicly known. The airline had concealed maintenance issues, violated labor agreements, and misrepresented passenger numbers to investors, all federal offenses. "Our whistleblower is taking an enormous risk," Zora noted. "This is exactly what we need to break this open." Chen immediately began preparing an explosive exposé for publication, while Bennett coordinated with federal regulators who had previously lacked sufficient evidence to investigate Eclipse. Meanwhile, Rodriguez tracked Eclipse stock movements, noting, "Their share price has stabilized recently despite these problems. Someone's propping them up artificially." "That would be their potential white knight investor," Zora explained. "CEO Martin Reynolds is desperately courting Skywing International to rescue them from bankruptcy, but that deal isn't finalized." 3 days later, Chen's comprehensive investigation hit the media. Eclipse exposed, inside the airline's culture of discrimination. The meticulously documented article included testimony from former employees, internal documents, data analysis, showing patterns of discrimination, and details of the company's financial misrepresentations. The response was immediate and devastating. Eclipse's stock plummeted 37% by market close. Customers canceled reservations en masse. Corporate clients publicly severed relationships with the airline. Federal agencies announced investigations into discrimination, securities fraud, and safety violations. As Eclipse executives scrambled to contain the damage, financial institutions began calling in loans that were now at risk. Skywing International issued a terse statement, reevaluating all potential investments in the current climate, effectively ending Eclipse's hopes for a financial rescue. Gerald Brooks held an emergency press conference, sweating visibly under the lights as he denied all allegations. These fabricated claims are part of a coordinated attack by a disgruntled passenger with a personal vendetta. Eclipse Airlines has always valued diversity and inclusion. We categorically deny any systematic discrimination and will defend our reputation vigorously. His performance fell flat, particularly when journalists presented him with his own emails outlining discriminatory policies. As Eclipse's leadership unraveled publicly, Zora received word that the company had called an emergency board meeting for the following morning. Her source inside, likely the same whistleblower who had provided the internal documents, promised to share details as they emerged. "They've fallen right into our trap," Zora told her team. "The financial pressure, public outrage, and regulatory scrutiny are forcing them exactly where we want them. Now for the final phase." That evening, as Eclipse executives prepared their desperate defense, Zora convened a confidential video call with her stockbrokers and financial team. Through various investment vehicles and shell companies, she had continued accumulating Eclipse Airlines stock as the price fell. With each new revelation driving the stock lower, her buying power increased exponentially. "What's our current position?" she asked. "As of market close today, you control 48% of outstanding Eclipse Airlines shares," her lead broker confirmed. "Given the after-hours trading and the additional sell orders queued for morning, we can secure the remaining 3% needed for majority control when markets open." Zora nodded, satisfaction evident despite her composed demeanor. "Execute as planned. I want confirmation of 51% ownership before Eclipse's emergency board meeting begins." As her team continued working into the night, Zora took a moment alone by the window overlooking Chicago's glittering skyline. What had begun as a humiliating denial of her rightful seat had evolved into something far more significant, a chance to transform an entire industry's culture while demonstrating the consequences of discrimination in the most powerful language corporate America understood: ownership. By morning, Eclipse Airlines would discover they had done more than discriminate against a black woman in first class. They had handed her the legal and moral leverage to take control of their entire company. The temporary triumph Zora felt was shattered at 5:17 a.m. when her secure phone lit up with an urgent alert from Damon Clark. Emergency. All systems compromised. Eclipse fighting back. Overnight, Eclipse had launched a coordinated counteroffensive that exceeded even Zora's careful calculations. Their desperation had driven them to extraordinary measures that bordered on criminal. A team of hackers, likely contracted through untraceable channels, had breached Zora's personal email accounts, cloud storage, and messaging platforms. Within hours, carefully edited versions of her private communications appeared on an anonymous website titled The Real Zora Washington. The manipulated messages portrayed her as ruthless, calculating, and prejudiced against white employees. Conversations taken out of context created the false impression that her discrimination claim was fabricated specifically to target Eclipse Airlines as part of a hostile takeover plan conceived months earlier. Simultaneously, 3 financial publications published nearly identical investigative reports questioning Horizon Technologies' accounting practices and suggesting the company had misrepresented earnings to investors. The articles cited anonymous, internal sources, claiming Zora had authorized fraudulent financial statements to inflate company valuation before the Japanese partnership. By breakfast, Zora's phone exploded with messages from attorneys, board members, and concerned employees. The financial markets responded immediately. Horizon's stock dropped 17% in pre-market trading, while Eclipse temporarily stabilized as investors questioned the motives behind Chen's exposé. "They're playing their final cards," Zora told her team during an emergency conference call. "This level of desperation confirms we're close to winning." Her confidence wavered briefly when the FBI called. An anonymous tip with documentary evidence had prompted them to open a preliminary investigation into alleged financial improprieties at Horizon Technologies. "Ms. Washington," the agent explained professionally, "we're required to follow up on these allegations. Our financial crimes unit will need to interview you and review certain company records." While Zora cooperated fully, knowing the accusations were baseless, the investigation created exactly what Eclipse wanted: a cloud of suspicion that could jeopardize her stock purchases and credibility. The personal attacks intensified throughout the day. Returning to her apartment that evening, Zora found her door defaced with racist graffiti. Inside, furniture had been overturned and walls spray-painted with slurs and threats. The building's security cameras had mysteriously malfunctioned during the time frame of the vandalism. Maxwell Pierce appeared on a national morning show, tears streaming down his face as he claimed to be receiving death threats from Zora Washington's supporters. With practiced emotion, he described himself as a simple flight attendant being destroyed by a powerful executive who didn't get her way. The orchestrated sympathy campaign worked precisely as Eclipse had calculated. Social media sentiment began shifting, with hashtags like "Tolerant Stand with Maxwell" and "Zora the Destroyer" trending. Nationally, by afternoon, Horizon's board convened another emergency session, this time to vote on Zora's permanent removal as CEO. Trevor Phillips presented a carefully crafted narrative linking the company's plummeting stock price, FBI investigation, and public relations crisis directly to Zora's vendetta against Eclipse. "The board has a fiduciary responsibility to distance itself from Ms. Washington's increasingly erratic behavior," Phillips argued. "Her personal crusade has put thousands of jobs and billions in shareholder value at risk." Despite passionate defenses from her allies on the board, the vote passed 11-4. Zora Washington was officially removed as CEO of the company she had founded. The Japanese consortium followed by suspending partnership negotiations pending resolution of current uncertainties. Major clients began exploring competitor options. Horizon Technologies, Zora's life's work, faced an existential threat engineered by the very people who had discriminated against her. That night, alone in a hotel room she'd checked into under an alias for safety, Zora faced her darkest moment. Everything she'd built over decades lay in ruins. Her reputation, carefully cultivated through years of ethical leadership and innovation, had been systematically dismantled in days. Her personal safety was compromised, her financial future threatened by potential legal battles. For the first time since this ordeal began, Zora Washington wept, not from self-pity, but from the profound injustice that powerful forces could so easily destroy a person who dared to stand against discrimination. The system wasn't merely broken, it was designed to protect itself by crushing those who challenged it. As midnight approached, she wiped away her tears and stood before the hotel window. In the reflection, she saw beyond her current circumstances to the larger truth. This was exactly how systemic racism had always worked, by making the consequences of resistance so severe that most people eventually surrendered. "I am not most people," she whispered to herself, straightening her shoulders, "and I'm not finished yet." At 5:30 a.m., Zora received a cryptic text message from an unknown number. "Parking level B3, northwest corner, 6:15 a.m., come alone." Under normal circumstances, such a message would raise alarm bells, but Zora had reached the point where conventional caution seemed irrelevant. After ensuring her location sharing was active with 3 trusted team members as a precaution, she took the service elevator to the designated meeting point. The underground garage was dimly lit and eerily quiet when she arrived. From the shadows, a figure emerged, the distinctive silhouette of Mr. Tanaka. "Ms. Washington," he greeted her with a formal bow. "I apologize for the melodramatic arrangements. We needed absolute privacy." "We?" Zora questioned. From behind a concrete pillar, Maya Rodriguez appeared, followed by Zora's attorney, Jackson Bennett, and surprisingly, a man Zora recognized as Richard Donovan, Chief Investment Officer of National First Bank, one of America's largest financial institutions. "What's happening here?" Zora asked cautiously. Mr. Tanaka smiled slightly. "A realignment of forces, Ms. Washington. Your Japanese investors never withdrew our interest. We merely made it appear so. We've been watching Eclipse's desperate counterattacks," Donovan explained. "Their tactics crossed multiple legal lines, confirming everything you've alleged about their ethics and culture." Bennett added, "We've been building a coalition while maintaining the appearance of your isolation and defeat. Eclipse believes they've won, which has made them careless." Over the next hour, the group revealed an elaborate strategy that had been unfolding behind the scenes. Mr. Tanaka's consortium had never lost faith in Zora. They had recognized Eclipse's defamation campaign immediately and strategically appeared to distance themselves while actually increasing their commitment. "We admire how you've handled this situation," Tanaka explained. "In Japan, we have a concept called gamen, enduring the seemingly unbearable with patience and dignity. You have demonstrated this quality admirably." Rodriguez unveiled financial documents showing that several major institutions, including National First Bank, had agreed to back Zora's acquisition plan with additional capital if needed. "Eclipse is running out of cash. They can't maintain operations beyond 10 days without new funding." Most surprisingly, a former Eclipse executive, Harrison Wells, who had recently resigned after questioning the company's practices, had provided comprehensive evidence linking Gerald Brooks and CEO Martin Reynolds directly to the discrimination directives, cyber attacks, and defamation campaign. Wells was their chief ethics officer, Bennett explained. He documented everything for 3 years, hoping they would reform internally. When they refused, he preserved the evidence before leaving. The documentation included video recordings of executive meetings where Reynolds explicitly ordered, "Make sure Washington is destroyed completely. No one challenges Eclipse and survives." It also contained emails discussing the coordinated attacks on Horizon Technologies and Zora personally. "This is everything we need," Zora realized, reviewing the files. "But why help me? What's in it for National First?" Donovan's response was unexpected. "My daughter was bumped from first class on Eclipse last year despite having a confirmed ticket. The gate agent told her there must be some mistake because she's black. Sound familiar? I began investigating then, but lacked actionable evidence until your situation brought everything into the open. With this powerful coalition secretly assembled, Zora's team finalized their strategy. The stock purchases had continued through shell companies, bringing her ownership to 49%. With National First's backing, acquiring the remaining shares needed for controlling interest was assured. The legal team had prepared comprehensive documentation for regulatory filings, board removal proceedings, and criminal referrals against Eclipse executives who had violated federal laws during their retaliatory campaign. Former Eclipse employees from diverse backgrounds had come forward with testimony about the airline's discriminatory practices, creating an overwhelming body of evidence that not even the most skeptical authorities could ignore. By this time tomorrow, Bennett confirmed, you'll have legal control of Eclipse Airlines. The question becomes, what will you do with it? Zora had pondered this question throughout her ordeal. The easy answer would be vindictive. Dismantle the airline. Fire everyone associated with the discrimination. Extract maximum financial penalties. But that approach would hurt innocent employees and customers while failing to address the systemic issues. Eclipse isn't the disease, she explained to her allies. It's merely the most visible symptom. The real problem is a corporate culture that views discrimination as acceptable business practice. That's what we need to transform. As dawn broke over the city, Zora's phone buzzed with confirmation. The final stock purchases had been executed. With 51% ownership secured through various investment vehicles, she now controlled Eclipse Airlines, though the company remained unaware of their new owner's identity. Eclipse has called an emergency board meeting for noon today, Rodriguez reported. They're expecting to discuss bankruptcy options since Skywing officially withdrew their offer. Zora nodded, a plan crystallizing in her mind. Perfect timing for new leadership to arrive. The Eclipse Airlines executive boardroom fell silent as the heavy mahogany doors swung open at precisely noon. CEO Martin Reynolds had been midway through outlining desperate cost-cutting measures when the unexpected interruption occurred. Every head turned toward the entrance, where Zora Washington stood framed in the doorway, flanked by her attorney Jackson Bennett and 3 uniformed security officers. "What is the meaning of this?" Reynolds demanded, his face flushing with anger. "Security, remove this woman immediately." Bennett stepped forward, placing a thick document folder on the conference table. "That won't be necessary. Ms. Washington is now the majority shareholder of Eclipse Airlines, controlling 51% of voting shares. This meeting will continue under new leadership." The room erupted in confused protests as executives scrambled to understand the impossible situation. Gerald Brooks lunged for his phone, only to have it gently removed by one of the security officers. "All electronic devices will remain on the table, gentlemen," Zora instructed calmly. "This meeting is now being recorded for regulatory compliance purposes." As the initial shock subsided, Bennett methodically distributed copies of legal filings confirming Zora's controlling interest, along with notices of termination for Reynolds, Brooks, and 3 other executives named in discrimination complaints. "This is outrageous," Reynolds shouted, standing abruptly. "You can't just walk in and take over a public company?" "Actually, Mr. Reynolds, that's exactly how corporate governance works," Zora replied, taking the CEO's seat at the head of the A table. "Majority ownership conveys control rights. Your own corporate charter is quite clear on this point." She activated the room's presentation system, displaying a comprehensive timeline of Eclipse's discriminatory practices, retaliatory actions, and financial misrepresentations. "For the past week, you have attempted to destroy my reputation, my company, and my life, all because I dared to object to racial discrimination. Today we're going to address the cancer growing within this airline." For the next 40 minutes, Zora presented irrefutable evidence of systemic discrimination throughout Eclipse's operations, financial fraud in company reports, and criminal conspiracy in the attacks against her. The remaining board members, those not implicated in the worst offenses, sat in stunned silence as their company's toxic culture was methodically exposed. When Maxwell Pierce was brought in to provide perspective as the face of Eclipse's customer service philosophy, he approached with the confident smirk that had become familiar from his media appearances. That confidence evaporated when Zora played recordings of his training sessions, instructing flight attendants on techniques to discourage certain passengers from premium cabins. "Mr. Pierce, would you like to explain these statements to the board?" Zora asked calmly. Pierce's composure cracked entirely. "I was just following directives," he blurted, pointing at Gerald Brooks. He established the demographic targets for first class. He told us exactly how to manage passengers who didn't fit the preferred profile. Brooks attempted to interrupt, but Pierce continued his panicked confession. It wasn't just me. Everyone knew the policy. We had performance metrics tied to maintaining the right cabin demographics. Reynolds approved the whole system. As the finger-pointing escalated between executives, Zora maintained perfect composure. This public meltdown was accomplishing what years of individual discrimination complaints could not, revealing the systematic nature of the problem. When the chaos finally subsided, Zora addressed the room with quiet authority. Effective immediately, I am grounding Eclipse's entire fleet until a comprehensive review of safety procedures, corporate policies, and company culture can be completed. All passengers will be accommodated on partner airlines at Eclipse's expense. You can't ground an entire airline, Reynolds protested. The financial impact would be catastrophic. I'm not concerned with financial impact, Mr. Reynolds. I'm concerned with human impact. Eclipse Airlines has demonstrated a pattern of valuing certain passengers over others based on race. Until we can guarantee equal treatment for everyone who boards our aircraft, those aircraft will remain on the ground. She turned to address the cameras recording the meeting. Eclipse Airlines has lost its way. Today marks the beginning of a complete transformation, not just in policies, but in fundamental values. We will become the industry leader in inclusive practice, transparent operations, and ethical management. One by one, the executives implicated in discrimination and retaliation were escorted from the building, their access credentials deactivated, their company devices confiscated for forensic analysis. In their place, Zora introduced a transitional leadership team comprising respected industry veterans known for integrity and commitment to diversity. The first order of business, she announced to the reconstituted board, is establishing a victim compensation fund for all passengers who experience discrimination. The second is implementing comprehensive anti-bias training for all staff. The third is a complete safety review of all aircraft and procedures. As the meeting concluded, a board member who had remained silent throughout the proceedings finally spoke. Ms. Washington, was this your plan all along? To take over the company that wronged you? Zora considered the question carefully before responding. No, my original plan was simply to be treated with the same respect as any other first-class passenger. Eclipse's leadership chose escalation, at every turn, revealing a problem far deeper than one incident. Sometimes the only way to change a broken system is to take control of it. By evening, news of Eclipse's grounding and leadership change dominated headlines nationwide. Aviation analysts predicted industry-wide implications as other airlines scrambled to examine their own practices. Civil rights organizations praised the unprecedented accountability for corporate discrimination. The stock market responded with initial uncertainty, then growing optimism as investors recognized the potential for meaningful reform. In the empty boardroom after everyone had departed, Zora stood alone at the window watching Eclipse aircraft being towed to hangar positions, grounded by her order. The scope of what she had accomplished was still sinking in. What had begun as a simple demand for dignity had evolved into something far more consequential. A powerful example that discrimination carried real costs, even for the most entrenched corporate interests. 6 months later, passengers at Chicago O'Hare International Airport noticed something different about Gate C-17. The familiar Eclipse Airlines signage had been replaced with elegant new branding. Equinox Airlines, where everyone flies first. Class and dignity. The gate area itself had been redesigned with accessibility features, multilingual information displays, and staff members representing diverse backgrounds. Inside the newly renovated Equinox headquarters downtown, Zora Washington divided her time between two corner offices. One as CEO of Horizon Technologies, her reinstated position after the FBI investigation cleared her of all allegations, and another as executive chairperson of Equinox Airlines. The transformation of Eclipse into Equinox had become a Harvard Business School case study in corporate culture change. Under Zora's leadership, the airline had implemented the aviation industry's most comprehensive anti-discrimination policies, created accountability systems that tied executive compensation directly to inclusivity metrics, and established a passenger bill of rights that guaranteed equal treatment regardless of background. Former CEO Martin Reynolds and Gerald Brooks now faced federal charges for securities fraud, computer crimes, conspiracy, and civil rights violations. Their legal battles had just begun, with potential prison sentences looming. Maxwell Pierce had avoided criminal charges by cooperating with investigators, but found himself in a very different role, required by settlement terms to complete extensive diversity training and participate in the airline's new employee education program. As an example of how bias infects organizational culture, the Japanese partnership that had nearly been derailed by Eclipse's interference had proceeded better than anyone anticipated. The Joint Horizon Equinox venture with Tanaka Enterprises was revolutionizing air travel with AI systems that optimized routes, reduced fuel consumption, and created more equitable pricing models. The technology was projected to reduce carbon emissions from commercial aviation by 23% within 5 years. Most remarkably, both companies were thriving financially. Horizon stock had reached all-time highs as the Tanaka partnership opened Asian markets. Equinox Airlines, after a brief period of restructuring, had emerged more profitable than Eclipse had ever been, proving that ethical business practices could coexist with strong financial performance. The myth that discrimination is somehow good for business has been thoroughly debunked, Zora explained during her acceptance speech for Business Person of the Year. Equinox serves more passengers, generates higher customer satisfaction scores, and operates more efficiently than Eclipse ever did. Inclusion isn't just morally right, it's smart business. The airline industry had taken notice. Competing carriers had rapidly implemented their own diversity initiatives, fearful of losing market share to Equinox's increasingly popular brand promise. Experience how air travel was always meant to be, equally excellent for everyone. On the anniversary of her original confrontation, Zora personally welcomed passengers aboard Equinox's inaugural international flight to Tokyo. The aircraft featured a revolutionary cabin design that eliminated the traditional stark divisions between service classes while still offering premium options. Instead of segregated cabins, the plane provided a continuous gradient of seating choices with dignified accommodation for all passengers. As she greeted people at the boarding door, an elderly black woman paused to grasp Zora's hand. "My husband was a Tuskegee Airman," she explained, eyes glistening. "He flew for this country when he couldn't even sit at the same lunch counter as white pilots. He didn't live to see this day, but I know he's watching from somewhere. So proud of what you've done." Later, addressing the full cabin before takeoff, Zora kept her remarks brief but pointed. "1 year ago, I was told these premium seats weren't for people like me. The first-class seat they denied me? I bought the whole plane instead. Not for revenge, but for transformation. Today, we're not just flying to Tokyo. We're demonstrating what's possible when we refuse to accept discrimination as inevitable." As the Equinox flagship soared eastward across the Pacific, Zora reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The discrimination she'd faced had been painful, but unfortunately not unusual. Millions experienced similar treatment daily without the resources to fight back. What made her story different wasn't the injustice itself, but her capacity to transform that injustice into sweeping change. The ultimate lesson of the Equinox transformation wasn't about one woman's triumph over corporate discrimination. It was about the possibility of reimagining fundamentally flawed systems instead of accepting their broken state. Sometimes real change required more than complaints, boycotts, or lawsuits. Sometimes it required taking control of the very institutions that perpetuated injustice and rebuilding them from within. As Tokyo appeared on the horizon, Zora smiled at the symmetry of the moment. Her journey had begun with a denied seat and culminated in creating a new vision of air travel itself, one where dignity wasn't a premium amenity, but the foundation of the entire experience. The first-class seat she'd been denied had become something far more valuable, a chance to show the world what genuine equality in business could look like. The story of Zora Washington teaches us that discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's also poor business strategy. When Eclipse Airlines chose to deny Zora her rightful seat, they unknowingly set in motion their own downfall by underestimating her resilience, intelligence, and resources. The ultimate lesson is that systemic change sometimes requires more than protest or legal action. It may demand strategic acquisition of power and control over the very institutions perpetuating injustice. Zora's journey demonstrates how individual dignity connects to broader systemic issues. She could have accepted a settlement or apology, but recognized the opportunity to transform an entire industry's approach to equality. Her success proves that ethical leadership and financial performance aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, inclusive practices often drive superior business results. The transformation of Eclipse into Equinox illustrates how organizations can be reimagined when their foundations are flawed. Rather than simply punishing those responsible, Zora created new systems of accountability, representation, and service that benefited everyone involved: passengers, employees, and ultimately shareholders. Perhaps most importantly, this story reminds us that power responds to power. When discrimination is profitable or convenient, appeals to morality often fall short. But when the cost of discrimination becomes prohibitively high, whether through legal consequences, public pressure, or strategic takeovers, systemic change becomes possible. The ultimate victory isn't just personal vindication, but creating new models that demonstrate how business can operate with both profitability and profound respect for human dignity. Have you ever encountered discrimination and wished you had the power to change the system? What would you have done in Zora's position? Settled for an apology, pursued legal action, or taken control like she did? Comment below with your thoughts on the most effective ways to combat discrimination in business. If you believe that fighting for dignity and equal treatment is worth standing up for, hit that like button to support more stories of triumph over injustice. Subscribe to our channel for weekly stories of people transforming adversity into meaningful change. Share this video with someone who needs to understand that discriminatory practices aren't just morally wrong, they're bad business and that can backfire spectacularly. Remember, sometimes the best response to being told these seats aren't for you is to buy the whole airline. Thank you for watching, and may you find the courage to stand your ground when faced with injustice, knowing that your dignity is never negotiable.